Okay, now you can see here that this is a different system. This is for the tomato tent, but it's the same setup principle. What you're going to have when you get your system, you're going to have these yellow caps. Okay, and the yellow caps are drilled out, and if you pull up on them, they pop out of the system. You're going to be getting them just like this, and you're going to take them and press them in with your hands into each plant site. The next thing that you do, and we have videos that actually go through this more in depth, you're going to take these red clay pellets and wash them off in water. You're going to take the bag that's filled with these red clay pellets, rinse it in water so you get off all the red clay residue, and then you fill up the bottom quarter of the net pot with the hydroton. You put in this little organic plug, and it's a little dry because we've had it out and exposed, and we've just been playing with it for a while. And then you put that in the center, and you surround it with the red clay pellets, which act as a root support, and your plants will grow right down through the site. Now you put basically that 3-inch net pot in the middle of each site, and you're good to go. Now on the mortgage lifter unit, on each end there's holes for. There's going to be holes where the air pump is going to have an air line and an air stone that goes down into the system. You're going to take the yellow or black tubing that came with your system, and you're going to put the air stone on the end of it and put it down in the bottom of the tube, and you have one on each end of the tube, each end of the circuit, on each single tube. So that's all you have to do for the hydroponic system is let it bubble in the water, and you're pretty much good to go. On the other end of the unit, you also have a yellow cap that's going to have a small hole into it. That little hole is where your 3/4 inch elbow is going to fit in with the red tubing, and basically the water just sprays down into the system, it recirculates, and then it's going to come back through the same type of S-drain here that'll go into a 5-gallon bucket, and that 5-gallon bucket is where you need to keep your water level full and keep checking on it. Now, as far as your air pump, you always want it on the highest setting possible. You can see it has low to high. High is all the way this way. You basically can hang this from the top of the unit. You can set it in any manner you want, but if you don't want this air pump below the level of your water line, and the reason being, if there was ever an issue where you lost power, water could go back up your tubes and into your air pump, which is not something we want to occur. Again, you can see here, we actually took the air tubes, and we have air stones attached to them like I talked about earlier, and they're basically just dropped right in the tube. Now if for some reason you don't want to use the holes on the end here, or you don't have them, you can always run this same black tube right through the top of your nut pots and down in the end, again for one of each on this circuit that we're sitting here and doing a quick setup and check with. Okay, on your ballast and all your electronics, you're basically going to hang the ballast from the top either with a zip tie or whatever you want. Don't hang it by the cord because you don't want any weight stressing. But on your actual ballast here, you're going to have your cord that's going to extend out. And the way that this cord actually connects in that socket is there's two little Phillips head screws inside the socket before the bulb screws in. And there's two wires, a black and a white wire, that go into either end of the socket, and you just screw it down with a Phillips head screwdriver to hold into place. It doesn't matter if you mix the black and white wires, it doesn't matter which orientation they are, one on the left and one on the right, it doesn't matter. As far as the green ground, if you want, you can attach it to the metal bar in the back. You don't even really need it, actually. When you first start your grow, you're going to start with the metal halide bulb that looks like this one here with a little white portion in the middle. And then when you switch to flowering, you're going to go to the HPS bulb. Again, we have videos that go through the whole growing portion of it. This is just mainly for the setup of these grow tent systems. Now you can see up here in the corner, we have one of the duct fans that comes with your system. And the way it works is you take this duct fan, it doesn't matter if it's facing up, well, excuse me, in this case it should be facing up and outward to blow excess heat out of the top of the unit. These here are little cinch drawstrings that you take and you just pull tight to hold the fan in place, and then here's a secondary drawstring that you can pull tight just to make sure it's nice and secure, and you basically just plug everything in. Now on the mortgage lifter, you also are going to have a fan that you're going to be putting in the bottom right hand side that you're going to have the airflow facing down and in. That's going to blow air in across the unit, and then it'll eventually be sucked up with a fan like this up and out. Now as far as the fan that goes inside the circuit for your light, you can see, we'll see if we can flip it here, but on these fans it actually has an airflow direction. It does not matter which direction that arrow is facing. As long as it's going through the circuit, it doesn't matter if it's facing right or left. The only thing you want to be careful of is on units like the mini mortgage lifter where you have multiple fans on the circuit where you're actually going to have 2 going across 3 lighting systems. And we'll take a quick walk over to show you just so you have a better idea. In a system like this, you want to make sure that those arrows are both facing in the same direction, because if they're facing in the opposite direction, the air is going to be fighting itself and it's not going to be blowing through the circuit in one direction or the other.